Your offering is so unique, and I credit you for that. As much as we have this amazing peer board, you've decided to combine these two elements, which I haven't seen anybody else combine. I'm sure there's somebody else out there in the world doing it, but being an EOS implementer and then getting that SEPA certification. For those who don't know what SEPA is, we mean Certified Exit Planning Advisor, and being able to have that all under one roof so that the company you're working on the EOS side to help them scale can immediately transition with you toward that exit planning stage, or maybe after a short hiatus in which they stop working with you, they can come back. Tell us a little bit about that engagement on both sides. I believe in EOS, it's usually a 2-year engagement that clients go on, a 24-month commitment. Is that the case with everyone? And then also on the exit planning side, how long before the moment in which I'm gonna, our listeners are selling their companies, should they be reaching out to you or somebody that does what you do on the exit planning side? And is it 2 years in advance? Is it 3? Is it 5? And what should they come to the table with to that first meeting? What do you look for to say this is the right client for me to engage with on that journey?
Yeah. So the first part of that question is that this is measured not in months, but in years, right? It takes a while for a company to position themselves so that a buyer would look in and say, this is something that's worth buying because the owner is not owner dependent, right? So that takes structure, and this is what EOS is really good at. What exit planning does very well is it sort of puts a destination. It puts a hey, this is what we're shooting for. It's not something that is a little bit theoretical, getting out of the org chart. It's I want to be able to, in 3 years, have options to sit in the owner seats and not be part of the organization, or transition, whether it be an internal transition or an external transition. But I want to have that choice, and that's when I want to have that choice by. So the time frame is definitely important, and it's measured in years, 2-3 years typically. The target market, I'm sorry, does that answer your question?
So 2-3 years on the EOS side, and then another 2 or 3 years on the exit planning?
No, it can be done concurrently, right? The truth of the matter is that when oftentimes clients to me, during the first engagement, I meet with a customer, a client, they say, hey, when I asked them, paint me a little bit the picture of what this 5 years down the road, what does this look like for you? Oh, I want to be out, or I want to be able to transition. I want to have more time. I want to do a favorite hobby. Perfect. Okay, how are you going to get there? What does that look like? So the first part of that is really building the structure that enables them to see that it's not just a wish, but that we're moving towards that. The second part of that is, okay, now that we've made steps towards extracting yourself from the organization, tell me what that looks like in terms of exit. And that's when the conversation becomes really pointed, because things have to change. Things have to change. That's the second part of your question is, what do they need to do, to go on this journey? Is they have to be prepared to change.
Frank, explain EOS to somebody who either doesn't know what it is or who has heard about it, knows a little, but they've never implemented it. So many of our members fit into that category. They're like, I'm starting to do something with this. We heard somebody today in the interview that we had with our board. He's like, I'm implementing EOS and it's radically improved my business, but we're doing it ourselves because I didn't want to fork out the $30,000. So there's so many people who are members of Leading Peers who are listening to this podcast that have some idea of what it is about. But what is it about the method of EOS that makes it effective? I mean, what was it about the traction book, or what is it about working with these tools that you've seen in your work with with tens, maybe even close to 50 to 100 companies, has drastically improved? And why do you continue to choose EOS 4 years after you started, as opposed to so many other operating systems?
Yeah, so number one, it's not 10, 20, or 300. There's 300,000 companies that use EOS tools, right? So it's definitely a proven system. What EOS is, it creates we implement simple tools that do three things called vision, traction, and healthy. Vision, make sure that we all understand who we are and where we're going. Number two is create clarity and accountability that creates traction to execute all part of that vision. And three, it's team health, make sure that everybody collaborates, communicates, and has healthy relationships, because often that does not happen. So that's what EOS does. It's really a set of tools that, when implemented right, with the right teams that are open and honest, that want to change, that want to grow, then we're going to see the outcome that they want. That's what EOS is, entrepreneurial operating system. It's not a technology solution. It is a human energy solution.
Love that. And as I was hearing you talk about the three components, two of them had come up before as important for you. One of them being the team health. You talked about how you treat your employees and what you learned as a young kid from your father that's carried on throughout your whole life. And then the accountability piece, which you mentioned is so important when you were talking about how you describe yourself to anybody that works for your company so they know what you're about, those high standards, that high level of accountability that you look for in every team that you're a part of. Now, when it comes to the vision, that hadn't come up before. Tell us about how you work on that piece when working on EOS. Is it all the founder's vision or the CEO that comes in and says, this is a vision, or do you challenge them on the vision? Do you say, do you really want to be there? It doesn't make much sense. The world is moving in a different direction. You're not leveraging the technology changes or what's happening with the geopolitical changes in the world. How do you participate with that vision element? Or do you just take it at face value and say, all right, that's your vision. You get to call the shots. I'm just here to help you get there.
I think that we know that collective minds think better, and the vision is really created not by one person. Of course, why we do things, that typically comes from the founder, but where we're going and what are our core values, that's pretty much determined by the leadership team. So what we want to, and by the way, the core values are absolutely influenced by the founder or the CEO. So all that's put together, and it's not a one-man vision. It is really a collective vision. And to the extent that everybody's behind it, everybody is on the same page and aligned all of their energies towards reaching the goal. So it is in the beginning of our conversation that we have with our teams is, and bear in mind that when we work with our teams, what EOS does really well is it highlights weaknesses. It shows, it puts a spotlight on them. And that's when you sort of see, okay, I have to fix this. But to fix this, do I have the right people in order to do that? So the vision is really something that is collectively done, although there's more weight, obviously, in the core values, because that comes directly from the owner, but also as a team, who fits in this organization? They already have a vision. They already have core values because they've been operating. What is that? Let's crystallize that, and let's bring it down to really 3, 4, 5 maximum behaviors that are important, that make you fit the team. So that's a collective work. What we do is often a description of what it is that we do. It's this is our niche. But the passion why we do that also has a strong influence by the owner, the founder, the CEO. Is why did we start this? I had a story. I had this person came in. We were in the second session called Vision Building 2. The 3 days that we built the foundation, and in the first one, the second day, he comes in and says, Frank, I know what the agenda is. Now I got to tell you, I'm only doing this for money. I have no other ulterior motives to doing this. I'm like, okay. We go through the exercise and we start digging. Why are you doing this? Okay, I want to make money. Why do you want to make money? Well, because I have to pay bills and I have to do. Okay, why is that so important? And by digging deeper, we realized that there was a whole story behind this. This was a person who was an airline pilot in 9/11. He was laid off, and he went from being a comfortable upper middle class to nothing. And he rebuilt. And the reason why he was doing what he was doing was to create financial freedom, because he had lived through tough times. So that's what we want to try and capture. That's really the story. That's why people want to embark on the journey with somebody, because they identify with that mission, that passion. So we have to try and capture that, because that comes from the owner. And then the whole team is behind it.
And let's stick to that case, because I find it fascinating. So that owner tells you he wants to build this financial freedom, which is a phenomenal objective for an entrepreneur. I mean, what a great reason to choose entrepreneurship. Now, how does the rest of the team feel about it? Because how do they get on board with that vision? Is it just for the visionary? Is it just for the founder that we're going to build financial freedom? Or is it something that we're going to build for everybody in the leadership team? Or is it something we're going to build for everybody in the organization? You know, how do we avoid that vision being something that the founder wants for themselves, but really doesn't resonate with anybody else in the organization?
So, that's a beautiful thing about entrepreneurial companies. We think oftentimes that, hey, it's a cutthroat. I want it for myself, and I'm really looking out only for me and my family. The truth of the matter is that most entrepreneurs, and especially family entrepreneurs, understand that the families were what got them there. And they have a strong, strong desire to make sure that their wealth is not only for them, but for everybody else. So they're sharing in that collective success. So that's easy to communicate, because if you're part of the leadership team, and there's going to be a transition at some point, whether it's internal, maybe ESOP, right? Employee stock ownership program. It could be a management buyout. It could be whatever it is that they would ultimately benefit. How many millionaires were they created when UPS went from private to public, right? I mean, there's so many stories of people that have made good money secured. They're not only the owner's future, but also the employees, families. And once you get money, once you build the owner's wealth, the employees' wealth, the family's wealth, the community's wealth, you're just improving the world. It's a beautiful thing.
It's amazing. And what I just heard you describe when you were talking about this person, the CEO, is that they were doing it also for their family. And it got me thinking, when you say, I want to help family businesses, at the core, don't you want to help every entrepreneur who is doing it for their family to have that freedom so they can better serve their family? It doesn't matter if the family ends up working in the business, if they are the only person in the family that's making decisions for the business. As long as they're a family first person, you want to support that entrepreneur in their journey, because it means they're going to be servant leaders who are going to be doing it for the cause of not just their own ego, but to serve the people in their family and the next generations. Would you say that's a fair depiction of the type of person you want to work with? Or do you require that there be at least two people in the family working in the business for that to be a family business?
You hit a word that's important, servant leadership. It's important for people to love their people. If a CEO, if a leader loves their people and they want to learn how to get better as leaders, those are the people I want to work with. Those are the people that will take the time and the effort and investment in order to grow, understanding that the people are going to make them grow. So those are the ones that I want to work with. My ideal customer, family business, 50 plus, that love their people, but they also want to grow.